I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here to share the speaker portion of our Connections After Hours gathering of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Andrea Hylen is speaking on Follow the Clues, How to Live Your Life Like a Research Project. Andrea believes in the power of our voices to usher in a new world. She is the founder of Heal My Voice and The Incubator, an online co-working space for women with writing and creativity support and coaching. She's the author of Heal My Voice, An Evolutionary Woman's Journey, and 14 more books. She has worked with hundreds of women and men who have written stories of trauma, loss, and grief to heal an old story, reclaim inner authority, and step into greater leadership in their lives. She's also a practitioner in ancestral lineage healing in the ancestral medicine community of Daniel 4. And for her current programs, you can go to andreahylen.com and check her out. Andrea, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for the opportunity once again to share something that's in my heart. And thank you to everyone who came to the meeting tonight and just talked about moments in your life from your heart. I'm really touched by the stories that I heard today and inspired to share this with you tonight. Okay, so the topic tonight is the title of my next book, which I had hoped to finish by the end of the year, but it is still simmering. I'm rewriting some of the sections, and the new release date is the spring of 2025. And that's the way it goes with writing, you know? Just sometimes just needs a little more time. Well, it does. But I'd like tonight to just read a story from the book to begin this conversation. So in 2015, riding on the metro from University Park, Maryland into Washington, D.C., I closed my eyes for a short meditation, and internally I asked the question, why am I living near D.C. again? I had unexpectedly returned to the DC area to live in a client's home for the second time in a year. I knew I was here to support her while she went through a divorce and to care for her dogs when she traveled. And in exchange, I had a bedroom, an office, and full use of the house and a monthly payment of $1,000 a month. It was a perfect temporary living arrangement for both of us. But I wondered, why was I called back here for a second time when what I thought I wanted was to be back in Los Angeles? I decided to say yes because some part of me felt there was something for me to explore. I wondered what it was. At the next metro stop, I opened my eyes and saw the doors had opened to reveal a flyer on the wall just beyond. Discover your true potential. There was something about the words that I connected with immediately. Got it, I said out loud to no one in particular. I'm here to discover my true potential. At the next stop, I walked off the train and up the stairs, bracing myself for the cold winter wind blowing in from the street. I was on my way to a meeting with Keith, a man I knew from a coaching program a few years earlier. He was building a community, and I had been helping him at some of the meetings and in their online community. I was also leading a small women's circle on Zoom. As I walked and met with him, the phrase, discover your true potential, continued to echo and gain more dimension. It helped me understand that I was here to learn something about myself that involved leadership. For the next 5 months, I leaned into the challenge. I accepted opportunities to teach, co-lead, and develop new workshop material for my business. I practiced setting new boundaries, using my voice in a different way, and course correcting when I didn't like the way something felt. I had a chance to be more myself by taking risks in a community that opened their arms to me. I saw the new things I was capable of when working with a colleague who was a yes to anything I wanted to try. I'm here to discover my true potential. Now, pause here with me and think about a time when you were challenged to discover your true potential. You may think you know who you are, but until you pick up the gauntlet and walk through the fire, you don't really know how you will respond in different and often challenging situations. 13 years earlier, I had had another experience in Washington, D.C., back when I lived in Baltimore with my husband and my 3 children. On that day, we were part of a group of families spending the day touring the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. We walked all day until it was time to go to the metro and take the train back to the New Carrollton station where we had parked our cars. As we waited for the train in the busy station, we gathered the kids in the front of the lines so they could get a seat and rest. And most of the kids, ages 8 to 14, had entered the train and were seated when the doors to the half-empty train began to close. The platform was crowded and none of the adults from our group were on the train yet. I happened to be the closest person to the doors, and without thinking, I lunged my body towards the door, through the crowd, and into the door opening. And then the doors were banging closed on my backpack, my body. The people around me responded by pulling back with a look of fear about what was this crazy woman doing. My heart was beating out of my chest as I motioned a signal to the other adults from inside the train that we would get off at the connecting stop. When the train pulled away, kids were hysterically crying, and I shouted to the crowd something about, "Our kids have been on the train alone." Now that I was with them, I could calm down and do my best to reassure the crying children that we would connect with their parents at the intersecting junction. A few stops later, we exited the train and waited for their parents to join us. I didn't know what I was capable of until I was in that situation. I didn't know how my instinct would push past my good girl, polite self. I didn't know that I would shove my way into the crowd, not caring who or what was in my way. I had to get to the children. The instinct to protect them and keep them all safe kicked in. I'm here to discover my true potential. A few weeks before leaving Washington, D.C. in 2016 and heading back to the West Coast, I had a third moment on the metro. Reflecting on how much I had learned about myself over the past 5 months, I saw another sign: potential embraced. I smiled and nodded my head. Yes, I had been embracing experiences with failure and success, embracing my potential, and I was ready to move to the next location. I had new ideas about my business and had exercised my leadership muscles with more confidence in how I wanted to lead and live my life. The final sign arrived when I was on my way to meet Keith for a final meeting before leaving town. A warm wind infused with cherry blossom petals greeted me as I walked out of the metro station and onto the street. Standing on a corner, waiting for the light to change, I saw the sign on the side of a bus driving by: potential found. So in the first section of my book, I talk about mindset lessons and things like developing a relationship with your intuition, making friends with uncertainty, releasing an attachment to your identity, and reframing failure and success. I begin the section with that story about signs and discovering your true potential. By the time I was sitting on that metro in DC, I had been cultivating a mindset of living my life like a research project for 40 years. which began when I watched the Phil Donahue show in the summer of 1976. And rest in peace, Phil Donahue, who just died recently at the age of 88. But it was that summer of listening to him asking questions that I began a more conscious practice of asking questions. Now, let me tell you, it began with baby steps and a lot of inconsistency. And I didn't know I was living my life like a research project, but it began there. It began simmering in like the background of my life. And in this instance, on the metro in DC, I knew the power of asking questions and paying attention to signs without grabbing for a definitive meaning. I knew how to hold space for infinite possibilities to occur by staying curious and practicing patience. I knew how to stay present and allow space for things to play out. So the first step in living your life as a research project is to develop and cultivate a mindset that will support you in shifting your perspective and learning from whatever circumstances present themselves to you. Now, research can be something like trying something new or changing a habit, something you want to explore about yourself and life. It could be something like eliminating a few foods from your diet, then adding one food at a time to see how your body responds to that food. People do that when they want to lose weight or explore feeling gassy or bloated, and I'm sure everyone here has explored changing your diet or exploring food at some point in your life. Even something where you had an upset stomach and decided not to eat a particular food for a period of time. So that is research. And after teaching workshops on carving a new path and living your life like a research project, I had people ask me how I set up research projects. So this led me to create the second section of the book, utilizing the 7 steps from the scientific method in research with exercises and practices that take you through a process. So the first step is observe. So, and in step 1, observe is about expanding your awareness to listen and notice what is happening around you. What internal and external clues are here for you to explore? What messages light you up and turn up your observation skills or your curiosity? I once heard Lee Harris, the energy intuitive, who some of you may know, he said, "What are you chasing and why?" And it's a really good question. It encourages us to pause. What are you chasing and why? So by pushing pause on your list of desires, it gives you a moment to expand your awareness. Now, I imagine everyone here has set goals with a desire to manifest something in your life. And you've made lists or created a vision board or have chosen a word or focus for the year. I mean, true confessions, I love making vision boards. I love paper, scissors, and glue and glitter and colored markers. I love dreaming and writing down goals, dreams, wishes. I have all kinds of journals where I write things. I choose a word to set an intention for the year with 3 supporting words. I love words. And I love visioning. So keeping the vision board in mind, here's a tip from the first step of observing. I encourage you to put your vision board to the side until steps 2 and 3, when we ask more questions and do some background research on your desires to figure out what you want to research. Step 1, observe, and having the slate clean may reveal things to you that you weren't aware of. It may reveal a limiting belief for you to unravel. that can be a roadblock to meeting your desires or an idea that you hadn't considered. So we create out of experiences that we already know. So observe helps you tap into the unknown. And a simple example is you see a car in your neighbor's driveway and you have a desire of wanting that same car. So you put it on your vision board without considering the details involved with owning that car, or even considering the possibility of another car that's better for you or that you like even more, or even the fact that maybe you don't need a car at all for a number of unknown reasons. And here's the question again: what are you chasing and why? So, with step one, I encourage you to put on your detective hat and explore your inner and outer environment, to look for clues, to free your mind and observe and explore the messages, signs, conversations, and information that are coming to you in the form of billboards, bumper stickers, books, conversations. You know, as I described in my story about Discover Your True Potential, you may have an idea of what the words on a poster mean. And at the same time, by letting go of trying to figure it out, the details and meaning, will free you to be present with the experience that you're being called to. So step one, as I said, it involves wiping the slate clean, opening to the inspiration of messages and clues around you, and being willing to go on the ride to see where it will take you. One basic tool, those of you who know me, you've probably heard me mention this, but this is one of my favorite tools, is just to carry a little notebook in your purse or pocket, or record things on voice notes on your phone, or take photos, to just notice what crosses your path, to open your eye, to like wipe the slate clean and just go through your day, being open to whatever messages come to you. So viewing the messages with fresh eyes, curiosity, and patience, and then waiting for the next clue to appear. But I'm going to mention one other reason for developing a mindset about living your life like a research project. It can really support you when you are thrust into a circumstance that you did not plan and at a time when you feel out of control. It involves being present and witnessing yourself at the same time you were going through something. I first learned this idea of witnessing ourselves from Neil Donald Walsh, who talked about witnessing yourself and then witnessing the witness of yourself. So if you've never tried this, here's just the basics to begin exploring. You become aware of yourself in this present moment. You're fully in your body. You feel the sensations of your body, and you're focusing on your breathing and your thoughts. And then you pull back a little bit and imagine that you can watch what you are thinking and doing in this present moment, that you can even stop the thoughts you were just going to speak out loud, and that you can change what those are, that you're interacting with this other part of yourself. Then imagine that a part of you is watching the part of you that is watching you in the present moment. So one way to play with this is to become aware of when you're talking, and then just play with the conversation that you were about to speak, and even become aware of what thoughts are in your head before they come out of your mouth. So anyway, it can be pretty trippy, let's just say, to be able to do that. And what happens is you're expanding your awareness and consciousness in this moment. So from that space, you can notice how you are responding to a situation where you have no control over the outcome. And in that moment, you can ask yourself, what can I control? Who do I want to be in this situation? And I'll tell you, one of my first conscious awareness of this is from 1991 when I was 7 months pregnant with my third child. There was an anomaly with his heart and lungs that required an additional ultrasound, and then a switch from the delivery at a birthing center to high-tech care at Johns Hopkins University. My first response when the doctor's office tech called, I was not observing myself. I was fully in it. And they told us we needed to come back for a test. I just was in shock and then anger and frustration. I was alone in my car. I was banging on the steering wheel and asking, why was this happening? And within a few moments, I calmed down and began to talk myself off the ledge, drive home, pick up your husband, go to the doctor's office, get another ultrasound, just like go on autopilot. But being in the situation and watching myself, asking questions, wondering how I could support myself in this space of the unknown, an idea popped up to cross-stitch angels. It was like it came from outside of me, that I'm watching myself thinking, what can I do to support her, to support me? I like to cross stitch, and I had a favorite shop. So I went to the store. I purchased a few intricate designs that would require focus. And I was inspired to see every stitch as a prayer. I could control that. And it gave me an anchoring and grounded calm to stay present. And because of this expanded awareness that I was going through something with my child, with my husband, with the people around me, but observing myself at the same time, there was always this point where I was learning lessons about what was happening in real time. Being in the experience and witnessing myself taught me about unconditional love and joy and grief. I was under the microscope and observing what was happening. Ultimately, what living your life like a research project is leading you to is being an active participant in your life, living the life that is calling you and not the life that someone else told you that you should be living. I'm inspired to end this talk today with some words from Janice Stanfield's song, If I Were Brave. What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed, would the wind always fill up my sail? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where true believers dare to tread. I'd never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? So asking questions, following the clues, and discovering your true potential is an act of bravery. Trust the hero in you and take the next step. I am complete. Thank you all.
Andrea, thank you. I want to say something, but before I do, I want to ask everybody we're here with us on Zoom to unmute yourself so Andrea can hear our applause and our yays and all of that. So
Thank you all.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Andrea, you and I go back pretty far. You've been a member of this community for 20, close to 20, maybe more years, right? And you've lived all over the place, and yet we still, we got to connect a few weeks ago in person. But I remember you telling stories about you actually were a researcher in a basement at a medical place, right? Years ago.
Yeah, not in the basement. I think the
somebody else I know that who was a researcher. They always used to put researchers in the basement.
Epidemiology. I was a project manager and a research assistant. Yeah.
And so you were researching something very different, but I just think it's cool, the transition that research is research, isn't it?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. You're asking questions, you're being curious, you're trying things, taking risks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your brilliance. I always love it. I always love it when you speak. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank anyone else who's watching this live or watching the replay on our YouTube channel. Please check out all the other women on our channel who share their gifts, their wisdom, and their expertise to inspire you to move forward, whether it's about your business or other aspects of your life. If you want to join us for one of our Zoom gatherings or an in-person gathering, go to my website, opwgc.com, where you can find out all about our community. That link is also in the text of this video, and the link to Andrea's website, andreahylen.com, is also in the text of this video. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.